This is the Content Marketing Podcast, episode number 178, Insights from the 2016 Social Media Marketing Industry Report. And yes, it sounds a little different today. This is Rachel Parker, by the way, of Resonance Content Marketing. The hard drive on my Mac died last week, and I'm having to revert to my old Mac, and long story short, it was just a technological nightmare to try and get the podcast reset up. So I'm actually going to record this on the voice recorder from my phone. I apologize for the audio quality and the lack of music and other stuff, but had some really good content I wanted to share, and I did not want that to set me back. So that being said, hello, and welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. This is the show where we help you attract and retain business through the power of quality content. I'm your host, Rachel Parker of Resonance Content Marketing, and today is June 9th, 2016. Hello, or as we say in Texas, howdy, and thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. Just a reminder, this podcast is available on iTunes and Stitcher and SoundCloud, and now on Google Play Music. So if you like what you hear, audio aside, please click over and subscribe so you can get every single episode delivered directly to your happy little ears. I also invite you to subscribe to our weekly tip emails. Every Friday, we send out a quick content marketing tip, plus links to our weekly video and the weekly blog post, as well as the podcast. To subscribe, just go to resonancetips.com. I want to give a shout out to a couple of new friends who hit me up on Twitter. My new friend Holly from Washington State tweeted, "I love your content marketing podcast. I feel like I've learned so much about content management and updated information/news. Thank you, Holly." And my new friend Tammy from Albuquerque, New Mexico tweeted the message, "Love the podcast. Keep up the good work." Well, ladies, thank you so much for your kind words. And yes, we will keep bringing the good stuff as long as you good folks show up to listen. Okay, last week we turned our attention to the healthcare industry by sharing 5 things healthcare brands need to know about content marketing. If you happen to miss that episode, feel free to check it out on iTunes or Stitcher or via the RSS feed. Today we turn our attention to Social Media Examiner's 2016 State of Social Media Marketing Report and share some key insights for us content marketers. But first, it's time to check in with our news feed for this week's rundown of news you can use. Do you like my stinger there? Starting off with some news out of Instagram. It has been a long time coming, but Instagram is finally going to introduce business profiles. And those features will include a contact button that lets customers call, text, or email you, as well as get directions. You can access insights on your followers and your posts, and you'll also be able to promote your posts. So you'll be able to do promoted Instagram posts just like you do on Facebook. No date yet on when all this will be available, but we will, of course, keep you posted here on the podcast. Some news out of Periscope. Periscope has introduced a new comment moderation feature for your broadcasts. So what can happen is viewers who are watching your broadcast can report comments that they consider to be spammy or offensive. And when a comment is reported, a few viewers are randomly selected to vote on whether they think the comment is spam or abuse or whether it looks okay. Now, the result of that vote is shown to voters, and if the majority votes that the comment is spam or abuse, the commenter will be notified that their ability to chat in the broadcast has been temporarily disabled, and repeat offenses will result in chat being disabled for that commenter for the remainder of the broadcast. Wow, that sounds like a lot of... That's pretty intricate rules. I guess they don't want people... reporting people that they just don't like, or they want to make sure that they're blocking the right people or whatever. But anyway, interesting feature from Periscope. Okay, our content hit of the week is a wonderful post called Interviewing Mistakes and How to Avoid Them on Your Blog. This is a guest post by Rachel Corbett over on ProBlogger. And interviews are such an important factor in any content marketing program, whether you're interviewing someone on your podcast or on your blog. It gives you the opportunity to incorporate other voices and actually share those person's words instead of just interviewing them and then creating content. And there is both an art and a science to conducting a successful interview. And in this post, Rachel goes through some of the most common mistakes that can sabotage an interview and how we can avoid them. It is a very fine post, and I will share the link in the blog post for this episode. Okay, that's it for this week's update. If you stumble across something you think might be of interest to your fellow content marketers, please tweet it to me at Resonance CONT, Resonance Content with the ENT lopped off, so that we can share. Now it's time for this week's Spotlight segment, Insights from the 2016 Social Media Marketing Industry Report. Okay, as I may have shared on this podcast, Social Media Examiner is one of my favorite sources for social media news. And every year they go out and they survey 5,000 marketers with the goal of understanding how those marketers are using social media to grow and promote their businesses. And the result of that undertaking is the Social Media Marketing Industry Report. The 2016 version has just been released. They've been doing this for many, many years, but you can get your very own copy of the latest report by going to socialmediaexaminer.com. And I just want to share some of the key insights that are relevant to us content marketers and what we do. First of all, no surprise, video. It's not a nice to have anymore, folks. It is absolutely essential, and marketers are starting to catch on. 60% of marketers now use videos in their marketing, and 73% plan on increasing their use of video in the near future. So if you haven't got on board, now is the time to do so. Specifically, live video is gaining a lot of traction, and I'm sure you've noticed the last time you went to Facebook Live, there are people broadcasting all over the place. The report found 50% of marketers plan on using live video services, such as Facebook Live and Periscope, and 50% want to learn more about live video. And if they want to learn more about it, they're probably going to be doing more of it. The third thing I want to share is that so when marketers talk about their future plans, the things they're planning on ramping up, Facebook and YouTube hold the top spots. So 63% of marketers plan on increasing their use of these social networks. And I was kind of surprised to see YouTube on there because YouTube has it's been kind of quiet lately. You know, Blab's getting a lot of attention, Facebook Live, Periscope, all these shiny new platforms are getting a lot of attention, and we're not hearing a lot out of YouTube. But I'm guessing marketers are smart enough to know that YouTube is owned by Google, and so that YouTube activity is going to be critical to increasing their search exposure. Number 4, hey, Snapchat kids. Remember, I keep telling you, Snapchat is coming. It is growing. It is going to be the next hot thing. So get on board. And the report tells us that only 5% of marketers are using Snapchat now, but 16% plan on increasing their Snapchat activities, and 28% want to learn more about Snapchat. And of course, when they want to learn more, they're probably going to be doing more. Number 5, Facebook is, no surprise, the most important social network for marketers. There's no comparison. When asked to select their most important platform, 55% of marketers chose Facebook, followed by LinkedIn at 18%. Plus, 67% of marketers plan on increasing their Facebook marketing activities. And it kind of surprised me that LinkedIn was so low at 18%, because I tell my B2B clients, LinkedIn is the place to be for B2B marketers. It's absolutely, it's got to be your number one go-to. So I'm surprised there wasn't more who cited LinkedIn as their most important platform. Interesting result. Number 6, many marketers, this is interesting. So they cite Facebook as their most important platform, but many of them are unsure about their marketing. 40% of marketers said they don't know if their Facebook traffic has declined in the last 12 months, and 35% aren't even sure if their Facebook marketing is effective, which kind of makes me scratch my head and say, well, how do you know it's the most important if you're not even if you don't even know if it's effective? And that to me is an analytics problem that is easily solved. The insights are right there. They're on Facebook. You can access them You should be looking at them once a month. And yeah, you need to know what is working and what is not. Number 7, I wasn't going to include this one because we don't talk a lot about advertising on this podcast, but it was an interesting revelation. 86% of social marketers regularly use Facebook ads, while only 18% use Twitter ads. So 86% of social marketers use Facebook ads on a regular basis. And, I was talking to a colleague about that recently, and I was saying, well, I'm a B2B business, so it doesn't make much sense for me to spend a lot of money on Facebook. And we were talking about, well, wait a minute, everybody's on Facebook. And with Facebook targeting, you absolutely can target those B2B audiences. So I know for my business, I'm going to be looking a little more closely at Facebook ads in the future. Okay, the 8th and final insight I want to share is that tactics and engagement are the top areas where marketers want to master. 90% of marketers want to know the most effective social tactics and the best ways to engage their audience with social media. Well, hey folks, there's an answer to that, and it's called analytics. Very, very easy to find that out. And like I said, with Facebook, you need to be looking at those insights and looking at those other analytics, at least on a monthly basis. Depending on your bandwidth and the size of your team, you might want to look at them even more often. So interesting results from the 2016 Social Media Marketing Industry Report. And again, you can grab your very own copy at socialmediaexaminer.com. I also recommend that you bookmark that page because they are just a killer resource for all things social media. Okay, if you have any questions or want to add to the conversation, I would love to hear from you. And the best way to reach me is through the website, resonancecontent.com. Now it's time for our content marketing tip of the week. Okay. Yeah, we're DIY. We're DIYing it here today. Our tip of the week, so I want to talk a little bit more about Facebook Live, because one of those key insights that we shared from the report had to do with live video. We shared that half of the marketers plan on using live video, and Facebook Live is definitely the front runner in that field, no question about it. And I have heard, and you may have seen this anecdotally in your own experience, that Facebook is actually giving live videos priority in the news feed. So, and then also when you go to Facebook, when you look in your notifications, it shows you who is broadcasting live at that very minute. So if nothing else, it's going to help improve your exposure on Facebook. And on Monday, I actually used Facebook Live for the Monday Morning Marketing Mojo video because, again, having computer problems and I didn't have my video set up. So I went ahead and did a quick live video and got some great engagement. And, it was really funny. As soon as I started recording, or as soon as I started broadcasting, the dogs started going nuts, and Cooter just howled through that whole, they were just playing and running around, and Cooter was just, he was going to have his 15 seconds of fame on Facebook, by God. So Cooter's now a Facebook star. But anyway, start thinking about ways that you can use Facebook Live. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be long. You can get on there to share some quick tips. You can schedule some time with your subject matter experts and get them in front of people on a regular basis. And if you have a live event, that's a great way to share some of that content with your audience. So start thinking about ways you can leverage Facebook Live and put your team to work getting that in motion. Okay, campers, that's it for me today. A very unusual episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you stuck with me this far. If you like what you've heard today, audio challenges aside, please feel free to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play Music or via our RSS feed. And if you really like what you've heard, please leave us a quick review on iTunes. I would so appreciate it. Also, remember to sign up for our weekly tip emails at resonancetips.com. As you know, I always like to leave you with a quote, and today's comes from one of my favorite marketing gurus, Seth Godin. He once said, quote, "Change almost never fails because it's too early. It almost always fails because it's too late," unquote. Again, this is Rachel Parker with Resonance Content Marketing. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you again next week. Take care.